How did one joke about my husband's body end with his lawyer sliding papers across a table while they both smiled? Why am I the one shaking in that conference room when all I did was tell the truth about how much weight he gained? What if the person you call lazy is the one quietly building the case that takes everything back? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Damaris, and I still don't think I did anything that bad. People act like I stabbed him. I made some jokes. I said what everyone could see. In less than a year, my husband went from fit and normal to a man who ran out of breath walking up our stairs. I was the one who kept my body together. I watched what I ate. I kept my waist small. I was the one who still looked like my photos, but somehow I became the villain. That morning started like most mornings. Ethan stood in the kitchen in his old t-shirt that used to hang loose. Now it clung to his stomach. He leaned on the counter and shoved cold pizza into his mouth. I watched the way his belly pressed into the edge of the countertop. I remember thinking it was like dough spilling over a bowl. He asked if I wanted a slice. I said I already ate at work yesterday, and I did not want to start the day with grease. He gave this small half smile and said he would get back to salads soon. I told him he had been saying soon for 11 months. I said his soon had grown 3 shirt sizes. He laughed, but it was thin. He asked if I was serious. I said I just cared about his health and asked if the chair at his office still held him all right. I kept my tone light, like I was teasing. He went quiet. He put the pizza box away. He asked if I still found him attractive. I rolled my eyes and said, "Attraction follows effort." I said I gave effort. I let my hand slide over my own flat stomach. I said, "Respect follows results," and I had results. He looked at my body and then down at his, like a kid who failed a test. I told him not to be dramatic, that he was just a bit soft, and that I was joking. Mia wandered into the kitchen in her cartoon pajamas. She went straight to him like she always did. She patted his belly with both hands and said he was squishy daddy in a sing-song voice. She said it the way I said it at home. He stiffened. His face shifted for only a second, but I saw it. He asked her who said that. She said Mommy says it all the time. I laughed and told him he should relax and be happy his daughter loved cuddling him. When he left for work, he moved slower than usual. I noticed the way he had to suck in his stomach to tie his shoes. I thought, this is not the man I married. I thought, he tricked me. He got me to commit and then stopped trying. People say women let themselves go after marriage. In our case, it was the opposite. So, what was I supposed to do? At the clinic where I work, I sat in the break room with my co-workers. They complained about their husbands and boyfriends. One said hers played games all night. Another said hers never texted back. I said at least their men still fit in a restaurant booth. I told them mine had gained almost 20 kilos since last year. I pulled up a wedding photo where Ethan looked lean and sharp. Then I held my phone lower and showed a recent picture where his shirt pulled at the buttons. One of the girls said he still looked sweet. Another laughed and said he did look like a before picture. I said that was exactly it. I said I felt like a fitness ad, but only on one side. I told them he ate junk, did not listen, and then wanted me to act like nothing changed. They asked if I had told him how I felt. I said yes, over and over. I said I tried to motivate him. I said I bought him gym shoes, planned meals. I did not mention that most of the time I simply mocked him and called it motivation. That part did not sound as good. After work, I met my best friend Tori at the small cafe near the strip mall. It was one of those cheap places with metal chairs and sticky tables, but the lighting made good pictures. She came in with fresh curls and big earrings. We hugged, ordered iced coffee, and started our usual talk. She asked how married life with the marshmallow was. She only called him that because I had used that word first. I told her it was worse. I told her I felt like I had a third person in the bed, him and his stomach. She laughed loud enough that the guy at the next table glanced over. I said he got fat in less than a year. I lifted my hands like I was showing an invisible balloon. I said I did not sign up to be someone's nurse. I said I wanted a partner I could show off. I said, people look at us and wonder how I ended up with him. Tori said I was harsh, but then said I was not wrong. She asked if he knew I talked like this. I said he should. I joked about it at home. I said if he did not want me to talk about it, he could stop giving me material. I leaned in and told her there were guys at the gym who looked at me. I said I could pull someone who matched my effort if I wanted. I did not say I already had one texting me every other day. I did not say I had started staying late at that gym just to talk to Marco, the trainer, who liked my leggings and noticed when I did my hair. With Tori, I kept it vague. I said just enough so she would say I still had options. She did. She said I was not tied to a body that refused to change. Tori pulled out her phone and said we should make a funny video. She said we could film me talking about how to grow a husband in 1 year. I acted like I was serious. I said you just feed him takeout and let him sit. We laughed so hard my eyes watered. I did not see anyone behind me. I did not see the familiar shape of my husband until I heard the soft beep of a car unlocking. When we stepped out to the parking lot, the sun hit my face and I squinted. Tori kept showing me the clip she had just taken, where I held my hands out wide and said, "This is what my husband did to himself." We were still laughing when I saw Ethan standing next to our car. He was leaning against the door, arms crossed over his chest, his shirt pulling at the seams. His eyes were on me, not angry, not loud, just still. In that moment, my stomach dropped. I realized he had been close enough to hear at least some of it. I walked over, still half smiling because I did not want to look guilty. He asked if I was ready to go. His voice was flat. I said yes, and that he was early. He said nothing about Tori. He did not even greet her. He just unlocked the doors. I slid into the passenger seat, still trying to laugh like nothing was wrong. As I buckled my seatbelt, I saw his phone on the dashboard light up with a new calendar reminder, something about a downtown time the next day. I told myself it was just another work thing. I told myself he would cool off like always. I had no idea that him going quiet was the worst sign of all. The next day, he surprised me. I was in the bedroom getting ready for work when Ethan walked in, wearing old basketball shorts and a faded gym t-shirt I had not seen in years. It was tight across his stomach, but he had his sneakers in his hand and the strange forced smile on his face. He asked if I could drop him at the gym before my shift. For a moment, I just stared at him. He said he wanted to start changing things. He said he booked a free trial at the budget gym by my clinic. Part of me wanted to clap and cheer. Another part wanted to roll my eyes and say it was too late. I told him sure, I could drop him off. I said it in a flat voice so he would see I was not impressed. I told him I would believe it when I saw it. We drove in silence. He tugged at his shirt like he was trying to stretch it. I watched his reflection in the window. When we parked, I almost hoped he would chicken out because I knew I would feel secondhand shame if he quit in 5 minutes. But he got out of the car and walked in ahead of me, shoulders stiff. Inside, the gym smelled like rubber and cheap spray cleaner. Music thumped in the background. Ethan stood at the front desk while the trainer, on duty, printed forms. That trainer was Marco. I had seen him before when I first joined. Lean arms, easy smile, the kind of guy who looks good even in an ugly staff shirt. I always felt his eyes on me when I did squats. Marco greeted me first. He said he was glad to see me back. I said I had been busy and glanced at Ethan, wanting him to feel the comparison. Ethan gave a small nod. Marco handed him a clipboard and pointed to the treadmills. Ethan climbed on one, the machine creaking as it adjusted to his weight. I watched him walk. At first it was fine, then his face got red. His breathing grew loud. He tapped the speed down. Marco leaned close to me and said it was cute that I brought my husband to my place. I laughed and said I was hoping he would survive 5 minutes. Marco smiled wider and said some guys did not really like effort. He said it in a soft voice, but I knew Ethan could hear. After about 10 minutes, Ethan stepped off, wiping sweat from his forehead. He said he would start small and build up. I told him small was becoming his favorite word. He gave a tired smile and looked away. I felt embarrassed standing next to him under the mirrors. Next to Marco, he looked even larger, slower, older. I thought, this is not the match I want people to see. On the way out, Ethan asked if I could pick him up after work so he could get another short session in. I said I already had my routine and he should work around it. He said okay, he would take the bus. That bothered me, how easily he accepted it. I wanted him to fight a little, just so I could feel needed. Instead, he just nodded and took his trial pass. Later in the clinic break room, I told my co-workers about the gym trip. I said he almost died on the treadmill. I blew it out of proportion, describing him gasping like a fish. They laughed. One asked if it was really that bad. I said yes, and that Marco kept looking at me like he was thinking, how did she end up with that? Saying it out loud gave me a strange thrill. One of the girls asked if Ethan was trying to get healthy now. I shrugged and said it was too late. I said damage was done. I said you cannot just slap on effort after nearly a year of laziness and think it fixes attraction. They nodded. They all had stories where they felt more together than their men. I used their agreement like a shield, proof that I was not crazy. That weekend, Rosa held a small barbecue in her backyard. She liked to do that whenever the weather was good. Plastic tables, folding chairs, the smell of meat and charcoal. Ethan had marinated the chicken and burgers before we came over. He carried the tray out, breathing a bit heavier from the stairs, and set it near the grill. His shirt stuck to his back. Caleb and Nina were already there. Tori came too, because Rosa had invited her after meeting her once. I was not thrilled, but Tori brought energy, and I liked having someone on my side. Mia ran around with cousins, sticky from juice. When Ethan tried to sit in one of the cheap plastic chairs, it made a loud creak. The whole table glanced at him. I felt heat rush to my face, half from shame, half from annoyance. I said maybe he should take the sturdier wooden chair so we did not test the limits of science. People chuckled, unsure. Tori laughed loud, which pushed everyone else to laugh more. Rosa looked at me from the grill with a hard stare. She asked me quietly if that was necessary. I said I was just joking. I said this family needed to relax. I called Ethan our gentle giant and poked his stomach lightly in front of everyone, like it was no big deal. He gave a small smile that did not reach his eyes. He said he would stand instead. Tori pulled out her phone again. She said we should film barbecue with the big man. I played along. I held up a burger and said on camera that this was how you grow a husband in 1 year, waving my hand at Ethan's body. He turned away toward the grill, jaw tight. Caleb looked down at his plate. Nina's smile faded. Rosa told Tori to put the phone away. After a while, Rosa pulled me into the kitchen under the excuse of checking on side dishes. Once the door swung closed, she turned to me and asked why I was talking about her son that way. Her voice was low, controlled. I said we all make jokes. I said it was motivation. I said he needed a push. She asked if I understood he was working late, under stress, carrying the load for us. I replied that his load was also carried on his body, and I was the one who had to look at it. She told me she did not like the way Mia repeated what I said. I brushed it off. I said kids copy everything, and that it did not mean anything. I did not want to hear that I was the problem. I left the kitchen before she could say more. I went back to Tori, who asked what Rosa's issue was. I told her Rosa was sensitive and did not understand our humor. As the sun started to set, people began to pack up. Ethan was outside talking with Rosa in low voices. I pretended not to watch, but I did. He held his phone in his hand, thumb moving. A few minutes later, he walked to his car to put something in the trunk. When he shut it, I saw the car was already backed into the driveway, facing the street like he was ready to go at any time. We finally left after saying quick goodbyes. On the way home, he did not bring up the jokes. He just drove. At one red light, his phone buzzed with a small banner across the screen. File uploaded successfully. I saw it and thought it was some work thing, some backup. He tapped it away. I did not ask what it was. I did not ask what he and Rosa had talked about in the yard. I was too busy looking at the pictures Tori had sent me, zooming in on Ethan's belly where his shirt pulled around it, thinking about which caption would get the best reaction. After the barbecue, something in Ethan went quiet. He still did the usual things. He went to work, came home, helped with Mia, but it felt like he moved behind glass. I would make a joke, and instead of arguing, he would just look at me for a second and then look away. No raised voice, no big scene. Just distance. It bothered me more than the times he used to get upset. At the clinic, my coworkers asked how the gym thing was going. I said he had gone once and almost passed out. I told them I could not want it for him. I said I already felt like a single woman who shared a lease with a roommate. They laughed. It felt good to be the funny one again, the one with the story. After my shift, I stopped by the gym instead of going straight home. I told Ethan I had to stay late to cover for someone. It was not a total lie. I had stayed late, just not at the clinic. The gym was bright and loud, different from our quiet apartment. Marco stood by the weights, talking to some guy, but his face lit when he saw me. He asked why I had been hiding. I said I had a lot going on at home. I rolled my eyes so he would understand. He offered to help me stretch out after I did lunges. When he guided my leg up and told me to breathe, I felt seen in a way I had not in a long time. He told me I looked strong. He said he wished more of his clients were as serious as me. I thought about Ethan on the treadmill, red and sweaty and slow, and I felt a wave of anger. It was not just that he was big, it was that I felt dragged down next to him. On the mat, Marco asked if I had kids. I said yes, one. He said I did not look like a mom. I knew that line was cheap, but it still hit. I told him my husband had let himself go, and I was tired of carrying the standard alone. He said some people give up once they lock someone down. He said if his partner stopped trying, he would see that as disrespect. I agreed too quickly. It felt like he gave me permission to think what I already thought. When I got home that night, Ethan was sitting at the dining table with his laptop open. Mia was asleep. The kitchen was clean. He had done the dishes and packed her lunch for school tomorrow. He had organized the mail into neat piles. On the screen, I saw a spreadsheet, rows and columns full of dates. Beside the laptop sat a plain folder with the word household written in neat black pen. I asked what he was doing. He said he was sorting things. He said he wanted to track our expenses better. I laughed and said he was finally acting like a real adult. He did not smile. He asked what time my shift had ended. I said around 7. He said he called the clinic at 7:30 and they said I had left. I felt my chest tighten for a second. I said I had stopped at the store. I opened the fridge to show the small bag of yogurt I had bought on the way home. It was not a total lie. I had run in for one thing. I moved like everything was normal. He accepted it. At least he acted like he did. He said he just wanted to know when to start dinner next time. I told him not to be controlling. I said I was allowed to have a life. In my head, I told myself that if he made me feel guilty for one stretch session with a trainer, he deserved to be resentful and alone. Later that week, I took Mia to the playground after school. Ethan met us there after work. He was still in his office clothes, tie loose, sleeves rolled up. He tried to sit on the swing and it groaned a little. He laughed at himself and stepped back. Mia tugged his hand and told him to sit anyway. He said he did not want to break it. She said, in a bright voice, that Mommy said he might. The words hung in the air. Ethan stood still. I felt heat run up my neck. I said, "She mixed things up. I said kids say silly stuff." But Ethan looked from Mia to me, his jaw tight. He asked when I had said that. I said never, that she was being dramatic. Mia frowned and said, I had said it in the kitchen when we talked about the theme park rides. Ethan went quiet. He pushed her on the swing while I stood there, annoyed that a child's mouth could make me look bad. That night, once Mia was in bed, Ethan asked directly if I was seeing someone at the gym. I laughed. I said he sounded insecure. I reminded him of his weight like it was proof. I said only someone guilty about his own choices would project cheating onto me. I told him maybe, if he focused on his own body instead of mine, he would feel less paranoid. He nodded slowly. He did not push. He just went to the guest room with his laptop under his arm. I heard the faint click of a drawer and the quiet sound of something sliding inside. Then a soft beep, like a recording app starting and stopping. I lay in our bed alone, scrolling through Marco's messages. He had sent a photo from the gym mirror, sweat shining on his arms, joking that he hoped I did not trade in my husband just yet because he liked having me around. I typed back that I was just window shopping. I told myself it was fair. My husband had checked out first. I was only reacting to what he had done to himself. Mia's birthday came 2 weeks later. She wanted the silly chain restaurant with the loud music and the kids' menu crayons. I did not like the food, but it was easy, and I wanted photos of us as fun parents for my social media. Ethan did most of the planning. He booked the table, ordered the cake with her name, and sent the invites to his family. I let him, because details bored me. I focused on outfits. I put Mia in a cute dress with sparkles and curled her hair. I wore a tight black top and high-waisted jeans that showed my waist. Ethan wore a button-down that pulled at his stomach when he sat. When we got to the restaurant, the host led us to a long table with cheap plastic chairs. The whole place smelled like fries and sugar. Kids ran between tables, while a giant mascot in a costume walked around. Tori was already there, waving her phone at me. Caleb and Nina sat on one side, Rosa on the other, smiling at Mia. The noise gave me cover, like I could say anything and it would blend in. Ethan squeezed himself into one of the plastic chairs. It gave a long groan under his weight. A few people looked over. I felt embarrassment bite the back of my neck. Instead of sitting with it, I turned it into a joke. I said maybe they should bring him a bench from the back so the chair did not have to work overtime. Tori burst out laughing. A couple of people at our table joined in, unsure. Ethan looked down at his lap. He forced a smile and made some light comment about cheap furniture. Rosa did not laugh. Her mouth pressed thin. Mia, not really understanding, repeated my words and told the server that her daddy needed a big, strong chair. The server went red. Ethan murmured something about being fine. Tori pulled out her phone to film. She said she wanted to remember Mia's cute comments. When the server brought the cake out and the staff sang, Tori stood up to get a better angle. As they finished, she turned the camera on Ethan and me. She told me to say something for the followers. I lifted my hands over the cake and said it was our miracle that the table did not snap in half yet. I said it in a light voice. People at nearby tables glanced over. Some smiled, some frowned. Rosa leaned toward me and asked why I kept doing that. Her voice was low but firm. I shrugged and said we joked like this all the time. I said it kept him honest. I said a little shame was good. She told me there was a difference between a joke and humiliation. I told her, maybe if she had pushed him when he lived at home, I would not be dealing with this now. As we ate, Mia asked if they had rides. She had seen a small arcade corner with a plastic car kids could sit in. She wanted to go there with her dad. We walked over. Ethan started to step into the tiny seat with her. The ride shook a little. I said, loud enough for our table to hear, that he might break it. I said maybe he should let Mia ride alone and save the company some insurance money. Mia froze and looked up at him. He stepped back and let her sit alone. She gripped the steering wheel and stared straight ahead, face serious. Ethan put his hand on the back of the ride to steady it, but he did not smile. Caleb and Nina watched from the table. Nina's eyes were sad. Tori snorted into her drink and whispered that I was savage. I took it as a compliment. On the drive back to Rosa's house for presents, the car was quiet. Mia hummed in her seat. Ethan drove with both hands on the wheel. At one point, he asked gently if I realized Mia was copying my words. I said, kids repeated everything, and he should not be so sensitive. I said she needed to see consequences. I asked if he thought it was healthy for her to grow up thinking this was okay, meaning his body. He said nothing. At Rosa's house, we gathered in the living room. Balloons bunched in a corner, gifts piled on the couch. Mia opened a doll from Rosa, some books from Caleb and Nina. Ethan had gotten her a set of art supplies. He watched her draw, his face softening for the first time all day. Then Rosa asked to speak to me in the hallway. I followed, annoyed. She told me she was worried. She said Mia had told her earlier that Mommy said Daddy was too big for rides. She asked if that was true. I shrugged and said kids exaggerate. She said she had heard me at the restaurant herself. She said her son was already self-conscious, and I was cutting him down in front of their granddaughter. I told her she did not understand modern relationships. I said honesty was better than letting someone fall apart. I asked if she wanted Mia to think it was normal for a man to give up the second he got a wife. I twisted everything into some moral duty. Rosa shook her head. She said there was a difference between concern and cruelty. I told her she was choosing his feelings over my happiness. When we went back into the living room, the mood felt different. Caleb and Nina avoided my eyes. Tori looked at her phone, suddenly quiet. Ethan sat on the floor helping Mia untangle tiny toy pieces. He looked up once, met my gaze, then went back to what he was doing. Later, at home, we carried the gifts up the stairs. Ethan's breathing was heavy by the time we reached our door. I made some small joke about getting his steps in. He did not answer. After Mia was asleep, he asked if we could talk. We stood in the stairwell just outside our apartment so we would not wake her. He asked if I was happy. I said I would be happier if he took his health seriously. He asked if that was all it was about. I said of course. I said if he still looked like he did when we got married, we would not be talking like this. Then he asked if there was someone else. His voice did not rise. He just looked at me, eyes tired. I laughed. I said only a man who felt guilty about his own body would invent cheating. I accused him of projecting. I told him maybe if he went to the gym more and cried less, he would not worry about other men. He took that in without arguing. He just nodded once. He said he heard enough. He said he understood more than I thought. Then he went back inside, not to our bedroom, but to the small guest room we used as an office. I heard the door close. I heard the low hum of the computer, the faint slide of a drawer. I lay in our bed with my phone, scrolling through the birthday photos, choosing which ones to post, and did not notice that in all of them, Ethan had already started to step away. The weeks after Mia's birthday felt strange. Ethan kept sleeping in the guest room. He said it was because I tossed and turned, and he needed rest for work. I knew that was not the real reason, but I pretended to accept it. It was easier to joke than to admit he did not want to lie next to me. He still did everything for Mia. Packed her lunch, checked her homework, braided her hair in his clumsy way when I said I was busy. He showed up early to pick her up from school some days. Rosa sent me a text saying he had dropped by her house with Mia and looked tired. She asked if everything was okay between us. I wrote back that he was being sensitive and moody, that it was just stress and hormones. She did not answer that message. One night, I saw his phone light up on the counter while he was in the shower. A calendar reminder popped up. Meeting, personal. No location, just the title. It repeated every Thursday for the next month. I told myself it was a therapist, or maybe some diet coach. I told myself it was nothing serious. I told myself If he wanted to fix his life quietly, I was fine with that, as long as the result was a husband I was not ashamed of. At the clinic, I complained to Tori over messages that he had pulled away and was punishing me with silence. She wrote back that I should drag him to counseling before he got any ideas. She said if I let him rewrite the story first, I would lose. That annoyed me, because it meant he had some power. I did not like that. I liked thinking I held the cards. When I mentioned things feeling off to Janelle, my mother, on the phone, she snorted. She said men always got dramatic when they realized they were not a woman's only option. She said maybe he felt my energy shift. She told me I had every right to look elsewhere if he insisted on looking like that. Her support felt like a blanket. If my own mother said I was allowed to do what I needed, then how wrong could I be? A few days later, Ethan came home earlier than usual. He stood in the kitchen doorway, hair still flattened from the office, and asked if I would go to a marriage counselor with him. I was surprised he said it first. I had assumed I would have to push. He said he had already found one near my clinic and booked an opening. He gave me the time, like he knew I would say yes. I agreed, but in my head, I thought of it as my stage, a place where I could list all the ways he had changed and make it clear that I was the one still trying. I pictured a calm older therapist telling him that health mattered and that he had let himself go. I imagined someone neutral backing me up so he would finally hear it. The day of the appointment, we drove in near silence. The counselor's office was in a small brick building between a dentist and a tax place. The waiting room smelled like coffee and carpet cleaner. There were soft chairs and a bowl of candy on the table. A small machine hummed in the corner. Ethan signed us in. I noticed he had a small notebook in his hand. The pages were neatly folded back. I asked what the notebook was for. He said he had written down some things to remember, so he did not forget in the moment. I felt a little jolt at that. I had assumed we would just talk. I had not prepared anything. I did not think I needed to. My story, in my mind, was simple. When the counselor called us in, she greeted us with a soft voice. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. She asked why we were there. I began talking before Ethan could answer. I told her he had changed after our wedding. I said he had gained a lot of weight in less than a year. I said it had affected my attraction, my mood, our intimacy. I used calm words, tried to sound reasonable. I did not say disgusted, though that was the word in my head. I said concerned. She listened, nodded, asked questions. Then she turned to Ethan. He opened his notebook. He spoke slowly, without raising his voice. He said he knew he had gained weight, that his job had long hours and he ate late, but that he had been trying to adjust. Then he began listing dates. He mentioned the first time I called him Squishy Daddy in front of Mia. The day at the cafe with Tori, when he heard me talk about him getting fat in a year. The barbecue where I poked his stomach on video. The restaurant chair. The ride comment. Each event had a date. He had them written down. My face felt hot. The counselor asked if his description was accurate. I said he was exaggerating, that we joked in our family. She asked if he laughed. He said sometimes at first, then not really. She asked me what I thought the effect of those jokes might be on him, and on Mia. I said that if he truly cared, he would have changed. I said I believed in tough love. Then she asked if there was anyone else in the picture. My stomach clenched. Ethan looked at me. He did not speak. The counselor said sometimes, when one partner feels let down, they seek comfort elsewhere. She asked if that had happened. I laughed and said it was funny that we were focusing on me when he was the one who changed. I told her there were guys at the gym who looked at me. Yes, but that I had done nothing serious. I said I only wanted to feel desired, because my husband had checked out. I made it sound like a reaction, not a choice. I used words like emotional distance and missing connection, which I had picked up from online articles and videos. Ethan still did not raise his voice. He just said that he had seen messages on my phone from a trainer calling me gorgeous and talking about us time. He said he had called the clinic one night, and they said I had already left, when I told him I was still working. He stated it like facts. The counselor asked me if that was true. I said there were misunderstandings. I said he was spying. I said his insecurity made him see things that were not there. By the end of the session, I was tight and defensive, and he was calm, in a way that scared me more than any shouting would have. The counselor said we had patterns of disrespect and hurt. She said if we wanted to move forward, both of us would have to take responsibility. She said mocking, shaming, and secrecy were harmful. She suggested another appointment. In the car afterward, I expected Ethan to sulk or argue. He did not. He drove back to the apartment in silence. When we stepped into the kitchen, I went straight for the fridge and pulled out a drink, ready to vent to Tori by text about how the counselor had ganged up on me. Ethan leaned against the counter. He said he did not want to repeat what we had just heard. He said he was done with screaming matches and half-truths. I told him I was the one who had tried to fix us. I said I had dragged him to a professional. He reminded me he was the one who had booked the appointment. That stung, because it was true. Then he looked at me in that same calm way and said he would handle things properly now. He said it simply, like a decision already made. He picked up his notebook, walked to the guest room, and closed the door, leaving me in the kitchen with my cold drink and a sudden sharp sense that something had shifted for good. The call came 2 days later while I was on my lunch break. I was in the clinic parking lot with Tori, eating fries in my lap, laughing about some meme. My phone rang with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but Tori said it could be someone fun, I answered. A calm woman's voice asked if she was speaking to Damaris Holt. I said yes. She said she was calling from Malik and Associates, and that Mr. Holt had asked them to arrange a meeting with me. She said they recommended I come in that afternoon if possible. I laughed and told her that sounded dramatic. She did not react. She just gave me the address of a downtown office tower and a time. She said an email with details would follow. When I hung up, Tori asked what it was. I said Ethan had hired a lawyer to scare me. I said he was being over the top. She told me to go to show them I wasn't afraid. Later, I walked into the glass lobby with my chin high. The floor was shiny enough to see my reflection. I thought I looked good. My waist was still sharp. My lipstick was perfect. I told myself I did not look like a woman who should be in trouble. Upstairs, a receptionist led me to a small conference room. Ethan was already there, sitting at one end of the table. Across from him sat a woman in a dark blazer with a neat folder and a tablet. She stood and introduced herself as Attorney Malik. Ethan nodded at me, polite, like I was a stranger. She said they had prepared some documents. She slid a thick envelope toward me. She explained it was a petition for divorce and temporary orders about finances and Mia. I felt the room tilt for a second. I said this was crazy, that we were just having problems. She said calmly that the petition was based on a pattern of conduct. She listed things, the videos, the texts, the counseling notes, the gym messages, the timelines. Ethan barely spoke. When he did, it was to correct a date or confirm a detail. She said Mia would stay mostly with him for now, that joint accounts would be frozen, that visitation would be structured. She said my behavior and affair were part of why. I said they were twisting jokes. I said everyone joked. I said he got fat, and I reacted like any normal woman. Malik looked at me without much expression and said the court would see more than jokes. She pointed to a line for my signature, acknowledgement of service. My hand shook as I picked up the pen. Ethan said, in that same calm voice, that he did not want more screaming. He said this was him handling it properly. Malik made a small comment about how documentation made things simple. Ethan gave her a quiet laugh in response. As I bent over the page with my name printed above, Respondent, I heard them both laugh again, low and easy, and I understood that for them, this part was already done by the time my pen touched the paper.